Virtually every website is managed through what is called a content management system. A content management system, also known as a CMS, is essentially what WordPress, Shopify, Squarespace, all these different commercials you're seeing all the time where they're drag and dropping the content on the page. They're using some type of content. Each one of them are a content management system. It allows us to organize all of the pages on the site and just create a funnel to accomplish our objective. So nowadays, most content management systems are kind of a drag and drop, what you see is what you get editing system. And we're going to kind of go over how DecoNetwork's content management system works here in just a moment. When it comes to a content management system, there is often what you might call a back end and a front end. The back end contains all of the little settings that we don't need to visualize. So if we're going to be marking up product, we can affect the price settings. If we want to use a custom domain name, we're going to set it up here. We can set up our SEO configurations, our little stored configurations, everything that again doesn't have to be visualized so much on a web page is kind of more or less in the back end settings. Once you've set up the back end portion of the site, it isn't something that you're really updating very often. The majority of the time, if you're going to update your site, it's going to be using the front end settings, which you can access by coming into Edit Website and then Website Pages. Now do realize here in the Edit Website portion, we have the pages, custom CSS, custom HTML. You can add custom CSS and HTML to your site. It is kind of complex. It's working not against the system, but essentially DecoNetwork's content management system is built so that you can drag and drop virtually anything you need to. It's only when you're trying to really do something outside the box that we have to be thinking about adding custom CSS or HTML. So let's go into the front end of the site by clicking on Website Pages. And again, what we have here is a drag and drop, what is also known as a what you see is what you get editing system. It's often abbreviated down with WYIS. I'm sorry, I can't even remember the abbreviations, but what you see is what you get allows us to make changes to the page without having to refresh it. We can see what our changes are going to look like in real time. If I want to add space, between here and the text, I can. If I want to align this to the right, I can. And back in the day, we would have to write a bunch of custom code, and then we would save, and then we would refresh, and we would hope that we got the results that we were striving for. Now with what we have here, it's essentially drag and drop. What you see is what you get, and the more you play with it, the more it gets fun, and it all makes logical sense with not that many limitations. Okay, so over here on the left, we have our main settings that control our front end drag and drop system. So let's go over these different sections. First, let's actually kind of go down here at the bottom first. The theme. The theme is the layout of the header. We don't have a ton of templates here at our disposal. What we have here is a handful of themes that are essentially determining where is the logo and where is the navigation. In this theme, the logo's on top, the navigation's underneath. Outside of this one, the second most common, or the two most common, would be the one we're currently on and this one, where the logo is on the left and the navigation is in the middle. That is what the theme does. It's just setting up the layout of the header. Everything else about the theme can be controlled in the design section. So once you've set up the theme, you don't want to be changing it. If you come into the design, The design is where we control the color scheme and look of the header and some of the body of the website. So everything, once you've selected your theme, you control your colors, your fonts, and how everything looks up in the header within the design section. Within logo and title, as you can imagine, we're going to upload our logo to go here. Style editor, this is where we control our color scheme. Again, for the header, you can see we have the navigation here, our drop-down menu, our body, and really what the style editor does as well is it controls the default headings and buttons. Every website has a series of headings and buttons practically. They're just the two of the most common types of content. So this is a header. A header is one line of text, 2 lines of text. It's something short that draws your customer's attention. If it's paragraphs of text, that would be more text instead of a heading. It'll make more sense here as you go through this course. But if I hover over this, I've determined that this is this heading 3. So we have default versions of the headers and buttons that we can save. This allows us to just, again, kind of make templated versions for us to use throughout the site. So I'm going to change this, for example. Let's change this font to Poppins. And you can see the font has changed. If I change the size, so essentially you're styling the fonts and color schemes used throughout using the style editor. Again, same with the buttons. So let me bring this button back over to the left so we can visualize. So right now, if you look at this button, it is the hero action. I can change the type of button, and these different layouts are, again, what we see within the style editor. So right now we are this button. Let's make it by default this red. When we hover over it, it can become black as an example. And you can see I can see the results here, and it's changed here. So the style editor, again, it correlates with the theme and allows you to set up the general style and look of the site. You'd be amazed of the importance of just the right colors and the right fonts. We suggest that if I was going to change this to Poppins, I would change every one of these the same way. And you're trying to create that continuity and consistency look throughout the entire site. Outside of the design, we have page options. The page options are essentially what all's in the header. Do we want to show the search box, the shopping cart, the currency selector? I don't need the currency selector. The phone number's fine. So these are just simple configurations. It takes you less than a minute. Social site links. Throw in whatever social media networks you want to link to, and we can then display their logos and link them anywhere throughout the site. So again, we select the theme. The design allows us to control the look of that theme. All right, next we have pages. So a good way to look at sites are, a website is just a series of pages. And if I select the About page, for example, I can edit the content on this page. So the pages section really does some simple stuff. I can either add, copy, delete, or hide, just essentially don't show in menu a page. So I can also determine the list order, top to bottom is left to right. Oh, that's not good. Outside of that, once you select the page, I'll go to the contact page now. Once you're on a page, then you can edit this page's content. So really the pages is just determining what pages are on, and then when I want to edit a page, I go here, select that page to edit, and then I can edit the page. So how do we edit pages? Well, pages are just, they display content. Content is really what is ever on the page. On this contact page at the moment, our content is, we've got a form that they can fill out and we get back to them. We've got a map, again, buttons, products, whatever's on the page is our content. And content is in the form of a widget. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail right now, but essentially learning how to design the site comes down to just choosing the type of content, which is going to be a widget. Again, anything that's on the page, text, videos, images, sliders, whatever. We just choose what type of content we're adding. So I'm going to just add an image. We drag it onto the page, and then we can edit it from there. So I'm just going to choose a random image. And once you've added the content to the page, you can control the way that it looks in the widget settings. So we have these different settings to control the way this content looks and acts. So everything that we used to have to custom code is now just a series of variables to manipulate. Much easier than having to write, again, a bunch of custom code. Once you get the hang of it, it's more fun than anything. Again, we will go into more detail about how the widgets work in other videos, but it is a big, essentially everything revolves around choosing the content and then manipulating it using the widget settings. That is really how you design a site nowadays. Lastly, we have panels. Panels are pre-formatted widgets. So essentially, it's just a series of content that's already been pre-formatted. So let's just take this how it works. For example, drag it up here. And as you can see, it already has images, text, and so forth. It's a layout. So they're pre-formatted layouts that can make designing the site a little bit quicker, and you can just not have to work from complete scratch and work with what has already been created. All right, so that's the overview of how DecoNetwork's website design framework works. Again, we have the back end controls all the general settings for the site. The front end is what you see is what you get, drag and drop. We have all of these different settings here. You set your theme. Once you have your theme, you can style it through the design. Once that's kind of done, you're really not coming back to either of those very often. You're essentially just choosing a page to edit, and you're adding the content through a widget and controlling the way the content looks and acts through the widget settings. All right, hopefully you find this video helpful. Let us know if we can do anything to help you get the most out of your website's design. Thank you.